you will have two confrontations in your sonship. The first is the temptations from the devil, and the second is the expectations of men. Before he will begin ministry as the Son of God that carries a witness from heaven, the Bible says that and a voice came from heaven and said, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I'm well pleased." That was when his sonship was announced, and then he began his ministry as a son. Nobody begins ministry, true ministry of the Spirit, if you are not a son. So that is where Jesus will begin his true ministry. And then he began with the confrontation of Satan. And there is so much to understand about sonship if we are to take this in perspective. What actually happened between the Son of God and the devil from the beginning of his ministry. And I wonder the language of Satan. Do you know when the Bible said that Jesus rebuked Peter and said, "Peter, get thee behind me, get away from me. For you savored not the things that be of God, but that be of men." That means that the character, the discernment, the nature of men is equal to Satan. So when Peter started demonstrating the character of men and didn't really discern the will of God, because Jesus called him Satan. You will soon understand this. Then the language of Satan began with, "If you are the Son of God, turn this stone to bread." Then the language of Jesus was very clear. It is written, "Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeded out of the mouth of God." This is not logos, this is rhema. So he was not talking about the written word, he was talking about the life word. That means that every day you must hear from God to live. He said that every word that proceeded, that comes. So every day your life depends on what is coming from God's mouth. This was his first response. If you are the Son of God, throw yourself down from this pinnacle. If you are the Son of God. Then Jesus said, "Thou shalt not tempt the Lord." Then he takes him to a high mountain and he said, "Bow to me." And Jesus said, "You shall only serve the Lord, worship the Lord thy God, and him alone will thou serve." Then the Bible says Jesus rebuked Satan, and Satan left for a season. For a season. That means I will come back again. Then it was in Matthew chapter 27 that Satan showed up again when Jesus was on the cross. Then I saw this same language again. The Bible said, whilst he hung on the cross, the passerbys said, "If you are the Son of God, come down." And then, not only that, the Bible says, and the chief priests and the elders also came and said, "You said you have saved others, you have not saved yourself. If you are the same word, if you are the Son of God, come down, save yourself." Then the third group of people, the Bible says, and the thieves that hung with him also said likewise. Palus ovele. Jesus. Why was the same word that he began his ministry with was repeated when he was ending his ministry? But it came through different vessels. When he began his ministry, it came through Satan himself. When he was ending his ministry, it came through men. And Jesus' response when Satan brought the language was different from when men brought the language. When Satan brought the language, Jesus spoke the word, because Satan understands the word. The only way to defeat him is what God has spoken. And the Bible says Michael and his army fought the dragon and his army, and they overcame him by the word of their testimony and the blood of the Lamb. Listen, you will have two confrontations in your sonship. The first is the temptations from the devil, and the second is the expectations of men. These two. And when the temptations of the devil comes, we speak what God has said. But when the expectations of men come, Jesus revealed two languages. The Bible said, when they said, if you are the Son of God, come down, Jesus was silent. The first language in dealing with men and their expectations is silence. That's the first language. Men will tell you, you have been praying, what have you gained? You can't go and quote scriptures to men. They don't get the dynamics. If men tell you have been giving, what have you gained? They tell you have been pious, you have been holy, what have you gained? You can't go and speak certain biblical language to them. They don't understand. But you see, after the three categories, the passerby said, if you are the Son of God. The chief priest and the elders said, if you are a son of God. And the thieves also said, if you are a son of God. He remained silent until the Bible says when it was 12 p.m. Then he shouted, my Father, why have you forsaken me? Haluka ileba. Jesus. When men's expectations rise against you in mockery, we are silent on them, but we cry to God. Oh, when the expectations of men came, Jesus understood the dynamics. That men will not understand, it is written. For the things of the spirit cannot be discerned by natural men. They will not understand. So the language in facing the expectations of men is to cry, Ali, Ali, Laba, Samatani, my father, why have you forsaken me? And the Bible says, suddenly, Komina, Odiatomia. Remember, when he quoted the scriptures to the devil, he rebuked the devil, and the devil left. Medodo, Didada. But when he cried on God, when men began to mock him, the Bible says there was foundational shake. The earth began to shake. Tombs began to open. Darkness filled the earth. And the Bible says the men that stood by said, indeed, this is the Son of God. The language of the devil is, it is written. The language of men is signs and wonders. God will give you a testimony. God will give you a testimony. God will give you a testimony that will let the men change their mouth. God will give you a testimony that will answer the expectations of men. God will give you a testimony. My God, Medo, Moody, Mada. You are going to handle the temptations of Satan. Quote it before his face. He that liveth in me is greater than he that is in the world. I'm the head and not the tail. Satan, the Bible says that they that dwell in Zion shall not say I'm sick. You are going to quote scriptures. After that, rebuke the devil and say, Satan, carry your addiction away, carry your drugs away, carry your confusion away, carry your corruption away, lift up your voice. Carry it away.